Hello, my true crime lovelies. How are you? I hope you are well. All right, we have a saying back home: loose lips sink ships. You know, I've been down a Sigfredo rabbit hole, and there are some things that he said that he probably wishes he didn't. We're going to get into it. Let me run this intro, and I'll see you on the other side. So I've been down this Sigfredo rabbit hole because we know that Donna wants to, well, since Monday, that Donna wants to depose Sigfredo, which doesn't really make sense if she's following Charlie's story of extortion, because in that story, she doesn't know who Sigfredo is, but she's going to do it. And so I found this, and we're going to get into it because this might give us a little bit of insight. You guys will have ideas that I don't have, so I'm sharing, and then we're just going to, crowdsource what is going on with Sigfredo. Alrighty. Hang on one second. Yeah. Just wanted to make sure my mic was on. So this is dated 12/27/2016. We have it's the incident, it's a death investigation, right, of Dan Markel. So there is a 911 call, evidence was collected, they're giving all the background. Juvenile involved, no. Person number one, Daniel E. Markel, occupation, vocation, teacher, instructor, professor, assistant, minimum height 5'10", and he had a Florida ID. This is by Craig Isom. Person two, Sigfredo Garcia. Arrestee is the person type, race white, sex male, and minimum weight is 190 pounds. Minimum height is 5'11". So he and Danny were about the same, 1 inch apart in height. So VCU homicide, July 18th, 2014. And July is the day that Danny got shot. He didn't actually pass away until, I'm sorry, July 18th is the day he got shot. July 19th is the day that he passed. So he was shot on that Friday. He died the next Saturday. On December 13th, 2016, I was notified, and this is Craig Isom, I was notified the state attorney's office had received a letter from Jason McNair, an inmate at the Leon County Jail, LCJ. The letter was addressed to Ms. Georgia Kappelman, the assistant state attorney prosecuting the Markel homicide. Speaking of which, I think I saw somewhere where Georgia is now the state attorney. Don't quote me on that, but I feel like that's in the back of my head from one of my many searches. McNair stated in this letter that he had a lot of information on Garcia and McBanawa, who are co-defendants in the Markel murder. McNair stated in the letter he would be willing to provide the information. So this was after Katie was arrested, after Sigfredo was arrested, but before their trials, right? Because this is 2016. So McNair stated in the letter he would be willing to provide the information. LCJ records indicate McNair was in the same housing pod, L as in Larry, as Garcia from September 12, 2016 to October 10, 2016. It gives their jail numbers. I went to LCJ on December 20th, 2016. And I think Katie was arrested at the end of October. So they would both be in at this point to conduct an interview with McNair, who was now housed in Pod J, as in Jerry. McNair was summoned to a conference room for the J Pod where he and I conversed in a closed room. McNair provided some of his background and stated he was in the L Pod with Garcia in September and October 2016. He was asked to describe the setting and stated there were usually 96 inmates in the pod with 2 inmates assigned to each individual cell. So similar to what Sarah had, right? Sarah Boone, in her case, there's a whole pod, there's an open area in the middle with the officer in the middle, and then around the edges are the cells. Aside from the lockdown at night or when inmates were transferred in and out of the pod, the inmates were allowed access to other cells and the common area of the pod. So they could go in the other cells. We know it's poor etiquette to sit on another inmate's bed. I don't know if they have chairs in there, but they're allowed in and out of one another's cells. On an unknown date, sometime after McBanawa's arrest, October 2016, Garcia began talking to Murd3r and other inmates about the murder and how he became involved in carrying out the crime. So who has really good fancy fiction has some calls of Katie before she got arrested, and she's sending money back and forth to, she was calling Sigfredo's attorney. She's sending money to Sigfredo, but she's also being told by Sigfredo's attorney that the Adelsons aren't talking, which kind of, I don't know if it's a threat or if it's basically, I feel like they're trying to influence her to not say anything, right? I think that's part of why she held out for so long and eventually ended up with life instead of immunity. Garcia said he was offered the task by his ex-girlfriend and mother of his children. Murd3r said Garcia referred to this woman by her last name that Murd3r knows starts with an M. Murd3r does not know why Garcia did this when telling his account, as Murd3r knows the woman's first name is Katie. Garcia told him another woman named Dawn asked Katie about having someone killed for money. Murd3r said Garcia also referred to this woman as Dawn Adelson, who is a mother-in-law or a grandmother that wanted the man killed to get custody of 2 children. I think that is the story that they told them, was just about the children. And I think they probably talked up, they being the Adelsons, talked up, oh, he's a bad guy and they have to get the kids away and this is the only way. Never mind the money that Wendy stole and all her other inappropriate things, and Donna alienating the children from Danny. Garcia also said Dawn had paid 2 other people $50,000 upfront to commit the murder, but they did not do so. So this is in Jeffrey Lacasse's recantation, right? He couldn't remember if it was 15,000 or 50,000, but he said that Wendy had said something to him about they had previously tried to recruit. And he said it was like, he regretted it later that he didn't say anything, but he was just like, he changed the subject because it was weird and out of the blue. But he did say, Wendy lacks impulse control. So there's some truth in there somewhere this time, because how would this guy know it, right? So this time, Dawn told Katie she would pay $5,000 upfront for expenses, then $100,000 once it was done. So I feel like Luis said something about $5,000, but Katie denied that in her proffer. So I'm not sure. I think they got the 5,000, or rather, she said it was in an envelope. I think she claimed to not know the amount, which I guess that could hold, because then if she just gave Sigfredo the envelope, then he would know what the dollar amount is, right? She wouldn't. I don't know why he wouldn't tell her though, or maybe he was trying to isolate her. Like the less she knows, the better, in case her lips get loose like his. As this information became pertinent to the case, I asked Murd3r if he would agree to have the conversation audio recorded. Murd3r agreed to the recording, and I activated a digital recorder for the remainder of the interview. So there was some rapport building, some chit chat, what's it like in here, et cetera, et cetera. And then I guess after Isom felt like it was enough, he asked if he could record it. In addition to the above information, Murd3r provided the following information, audio recorded. Rivera was enlisted to drive a car for the murder and paid part of the $100K. That checks with what we know, what Rivera said in his proffer and on the stand. Rivera did not know the trip was for a murder initially. So remember, they made 2 trips, one in June, one in July. In June, Rivera said when they came across Danny, his children were with him and he would not do it. So the second time they went, he for sure knew it was a murder. There were 2 trips made to commit the murder, the first being a blank trip. I think that means, like, you know how the expression something beats a blank, like, there was nothing there. So, or maybe blank bullets is where that comes from, but basically nothing happened. The murder occurred at a house in a garage. That checks. Garcia said he was the actual shooter, did not say how many times he fired. So that also matches what Luis Rivera said. The gun was purchased for $150 in Miami. Katie either bought it herself or provided the money to purchase the gun. So according to Luis Rivera, he purchased the gun, and that doesn't check that Katie would have given him the money, right? Because Katie initially didn't know he was involved. At least that's the story they're sticking to. I know there's some story about Luis Rivera posting an owl on Facebook and Katie calling him and saying, take it down. So if she didn't know he was on the trip, then that doesn't make sense that she would call about the owl. I don't know. It's hard to tell. It's hard to even know if Katie's telling the truth. She's told so many things. I wonder if she honestly even remembers, because what I want to know is, Jeff Lacasse's thing was like the car that they used was similar, and the route that he would have taken had he been leaving for his trip to Tennessee, I think it is. Don't quote me. That Friday morning, it would have matched up. Like, he would have been more of a suspect. He had a solid alibi because he left the night before. There was video of him in stores, etc. But in order for that to hold, who told either Luis Rivera or Sigfredo Garcia what type of car to get? So I feel like that would have had to come from Katie, unless it was in the envelope, right, that was given. I don't know. You guys let me know what you think. How is that just a coincidence, or do you think there was intention around using a car that looked similar both times to Jeff Lacasse's car? Upon returning to Miami, Katie obtained the money from the Adelsons, with Garcia getting $45K, Rivera getting $35K, and Katie getting $25K. So in Katie's story, and somewhat in Charlie's story, she spends the night. She does not go to get the money with Garcia, right? She spends the night with Charlie. She talks about Donna dropping the money off, it being a little damp from being washed, and she calls Garcia to say it's damp. And I think he said use a blow dryer or a dryer. So she was not with him. So that one doesn't check. Garcia bought a motorcycle and 2 cars with his share of the money. I don't know when this guy got locked up. He could have seen that on Facebook. They certainly had those motorcycles all over. And as my good friend Kathy over at Gossip, Rumor, and Innuendo would say, Katie got her murder boobs. Murd3r claims this is independent information he received directly from Garcia, and he is willing to testify in court. Murd3r did not ask for any consideration prior to providing his statement, and nothing was promised or suggested before or after the interview. The audio recording has been provided to the state attorney's office. Oh, whoops. The case remains open and active. So that is Craig Isom. So a couple of things, right? One, first and foremost, it's not eligible to be entered because it would be all hearsay. Now, if it was at Garcia's trial, it could have been used because he's a party opponent. The state could have called him, and then they could have got. So I'm not sure, maybe when they provide the deposition for, or when they go to depose Sigfredo, they're looking for inconsistencies in that. I just don't know what do they think they're going to get from Sigfredo, because it's not like Donna talked to him the first time. And let's just look at it again. And I would say that also punches holes into Katie's theory that she thought they were just going to harm someone and not that it meant murder. Just because of. But he has a lot of the facts, and I believe some of this was held initially. It wasn't given to the media just so that they could figure out like who, if someone had information, if it were valid information that had not been revealed. I think they do that in all murder cases. They don't tell everything. The money part is a little weird too, because it says Rivera getting 35. I feel like he got a little more than that. I don't know. They did this for really cheap, especially if they were willing to pay. Like, what was it? Each, well, we know each for Donna is Donna and Harvey. Why didn't they give them the 333, which then Charlie turned into he was being extorted for that amount on a layaway plan. that didn't pay down. That whole story was ridiculous. So what do you guys think? Is this going to come up? Or do you think they're trying to glean something? I'm just trying to figure out, why are they talking to Sigfredo? Sigfredo has not, I think he's going to plead the fifth. He has not spoken to anyone about this ever. He immediately evoked his rights, and he didn't speak at his trial. He hasn't been called at any other trial. My feeling is, if you're going to depose him, it's got to be because you're planning on calling him as a witness. But the defense can't offer him immunity, right? And so it would only be if the state called him, they could offer him immunity, and he would risk his appeal. And I heard it, I think Kathy said it this morning, which today is March 5th. Hopefully I get this out, that he had a new attorney, a new appellate attorney who also does accident cases. Just take it for what it's worth. Kathy's channel is called Gossip, Rumor, and Innuendo for a reason. So take it as it comes to you, as gossip, rumor, and innuendo. But on that other note that we looked at, I think it was yesterday, it's all blending together now. The deposition announcement doesn't have his attorney on there, so we'll see. But I think, what's in it for him at the end of the day? What's in it for him? The defense can offer him nothing, so he should stay moot, right? And they should just leave him where he is, but we'll see. I wonder if they do depose him, though, if we will be able to get the transcripts. So one step closer, if he speaks. My gut is there's nothing in it for him. He already had those loose lips, and his ship can't get any more sunk than what it is. So I'm trying to figure out, if he did testify for the state, what would he have to offer? He would only be able to implicate Katie, because he didn't talk to the Adelsons. It was all Katie. Oh, you know what it is too? Katie was getting additional money outside of that $100,000, because remember, Donna was writing the checks. There's so much evidence against her. There's no reason for her to be writing those checks. As much as she didn't want to pay the $5,000 for the TV that the undercover was offering her, there's no way that she would have just freely been extorted like that. Especially, she knew Katie. Katie and Charlie were dating, right? She would have been like, girl, if you don't go somewhere and sit down. Donna is the tough old broad. Don't let those fake tears on that stand worried about. She was crying for her mattress. She was looking for a Sealy or a Comfort Plus or whatever that one is with the numbers. That's what those tears, fake tears, were for. Anyway, I'm interested in what you think about little Sigfredo, or big Sigfredo's loose lips. Is he going to sink any ships, including or possibly his own? I'll talk to you in the comments. Toodles!